Hi, welcome to High Output, the podcast exploring how today's engineering leaders are building tomorrow's high-performing teams. I'm your host, William Chang, and each episode we sit down with visionary engineering leaders who are forging new paths in a rapidly evolving field. Join us as we gain a window into tomorrow's software organizations and discover what's next for our profession and the entire software industry. This episode is brought to you by Maestro AI. Engineering leaders, let's be real. Building high-performing software teams has never been more challenging. You're trying to ship faster, keep your team healthy, and communicate value to stakeholders. That's where Maestro comes in. Maestro is an engineering intelligence platform that marries smart metrics with narrative context. Maestro enables you to understand everything that's happening in order to improve velocity, understand individual and team output, and make better decisions faster. Maestro seamlessly integrates with your existing tools like Jira, GitHub, and Slack, so you don't need to change your workflow. Visit getmaestro.ai for more info, because you don't know everything, but Maestro does. All right, I'm super happy today to welcome our guest, Raju Matta. Raju is the Chief Engineering Officer at Cambridge Mobile Telematics, the world's largest telematics service provider, working to make roads and drivers safer. Raju is a customer-focused engineering leader with deep experience building and scaling diverse teams in engineering, applied science, and product management, growing orgs from the ground up to more than 450 people across geographically distributed regions such as the US, India, Japan, Costa Rica, Hungary, and China. Before joining CMT, Raju served as SVP of Engineering at Compass, spent nearly 8 years as a Director of Engineering at Amazon, and 6 years leading engineering at TripAdvisor. Welcome to the show, Raju.
Thank you, William. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, please tell us about yourself. How did you get into engineering leadership? You've certainly done a lot of it.
Well, yes, that's great. I'll start off going as far back as 1986. So my journey started in 1986 when I ventured into engineering. I'd taken a bunch of electronics related courses in high school and built sort of small AM, FM radio kits, radios using publicly available radio kits. Soldered it myself and was very proud when my first radio started working. So I started my bachelor's in electrical engineering from a college in South India. That was in 1986. Back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, but the Intel's 8386 microprocessor released in 1985 used to have about 275,000 transistors in it. So I was super fascinated about how 275,000 transistors could fit in one small chip. So that interest sort of brought me to the US. I started my MS in computer science from a small tech school here in Worcester, Massachusetts, called Worcester Polytechnic Institute. But my real career journey started in 1993 when I started my first job at JP Morgan. This is, working in fintech before it was actually known as fintech. I was an individual contributor working on C, Sybase infrastructure systems and building front office trading applications for JP Morgan. I was surrounded by a really smart engineering group coming from all walks of life. And the interesting tidbit is it was the world's first touchscreen trading application, and we were interviewed by CNN at that time because nobody else was doing it. So it's pretty cool. Soon after that, I joined as an IC with three of my friends at a web-based billing startup company called Matta. And it was a Microsoft shop, mostly Visual C++, COM, DCOM, if people remember, MTS, Microsoft Transaction Service, and Microsoft SQL Server. So it was total Microsoft shop. I was there for 8 years, and I started as an IC, and we were growing very fast. And my boss at that time said, "Hey, would you, we didn't have a lot of frontline managers. So he said, hey, would you like to lead a team of 2 or 3 people and just, put your toe in the water and see if you like it? And if you like it, we can sort of think about growing you to a manager or a director in the future. So I happen to like that part. I happen to like the fact that I was being the force multiplier through my team and delivering on behalf of the customers. So I grew from team lead to a manager to a director at Metrotech, and I joined as a director at TripAdvisor, stayed as a director at Amazon, and then grew to a VP, senior VP at Compass. So that's been my sort of a trajectory towards leading engineering teams.
Ah, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. What um what was difficult about that? I mean, it sounds like, you got it figured out, right? But
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, people often kind of mistake like, hey, management is easy, but I would say management is actually a lot tougher than being an IC in some cases, right? You have to balance priorities. You have to now suddenly I equate it to being a parent because now you're responsible for somebody else's life in your hands, right? I mean, it's loosely speaking, metaphorically speaking. So, and you're responsible for hiring, firing decisions, and sort of working with the stakeholders, making sure projects are getting done on time. So I would say before I was living in my own world of being an IC, but once you become a manager, you have to now start thinking big, and that was initially a hard adjustment to make.
yeah, yeah. Any specific cases that pop up?
Any specific cases that pop up? Well, the specific cases that pop up is basically balancing between key competing
Hmm.
priorities. So, for example, you know, I remember, uh, at Metrotech where I was just a first frontline manager. Now I had to not only work on projects, but I had to work on operational excellence, making sure that we were also taking care of incidents that were coming, customer incidents that were coming at the same time, impacting the delivery of the projects that we had to do. So how do you sort of balance that? Those two key priorities was sort of a hard thing to do. Eventually, we created a mechanism where we said, look, in the order of priority, customer impact is number one. So we would address that over anything else. And then we would start working on our project. So that was one way to sort of attack the problem. But as you can imagine that, these two things never line up neatly, right? And and I would be lying if I said that every time I made the right decision, but that's how I learned over the years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
how would you approach that today? Like, what is that right balance?
Well, today you have to treat these things like a first class citizen. So, for example, every company that I've been in has tech debt as an example, right? And you know, either you keep on accruing more tech debt, or you say I'm going to address it head on, and you know let our stakeholders know that, hey, look, this is going to be impacting your product roadmap. If we don't address it, it's a short-term hit for a long-term gain kind of thing. So the way I address it is I treat it like a first-class citizen. I assign an owner for it, and that owner sort of picks a couple of engineers from each sort of squad or each line of business and says that in this quarter we're going to attack these 13 tech debt items, and the PMs know about it, the CPO knows about it, the CTO knows about it, and that's how we attack it. Similarly, we attack operational excellence. We say that we have these outstanding tickets, SEV 3, SEV 4, SEV 5 tickets, which have been languishing for years and years. Now we're going to address it because they're also going to be burdensome in the future. So we do the same thing, address it like a first class citizen and assign owners, dates, roadmap, all that stuff.
Yeah. How do you convince, let's say the CPO or some other folks, right? Because at the end of the day, I've heard this from other organizations where you need to tie things to revenue or you need to tie things to growth in some way. And tech debt is the thing that always gets shoved. It's called tech debt because it always you can't tie it directly to those numbers, right? So how do you build consensus there?
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy because because as engineering leaders, the best thing I can do is expose the pain that it's causing now and it's going to cause in the future. And you can't just say, well, it's going to be painful in the future. You have to back it up by data. You have to back it up by some other metric. Because if you don't, it becomes like, just another bag of words, and it's very hard to convince people. So, for example, migrating from Python 3.1 to 3.2, right? As an example, uh, if we don't do it, these are the problems it can cause. It's going to cause security issues. It's going to cause, you know, uh, uh, future tech debt issues. So we got to take care of this now and expose it through data helps the best.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Uh, so now, now that you've gotten a lot more experience, you're also leading not just your small local team, but also a big global team. How has that changed? Like, what are some strategies you use to manage that larger global team?
So imagine managing large global teams is uh, is fun and it can be challenging at times. The best thing that I've learned in my past on how to manage global teams is to give them the autonomy and the scope that they need. For example, if you say to your India team or your China team, hey, look, I want this, I want, as an example, SDK to be implemented by you guys and you guys only. So you are becoming the full stack team of a product manager, an engineering leader, and a group of engineers, and you're responsible for the destiny of the SDK. So if you give them the autonomy of this and the scope, that works the best in my opinion. And I've seen that over and over again. People feel more happier. People feel like, okay, they own something. People feel that they can celebrate when it's successful, and they can also take extreme ownership when it goes down, and they are the only people accountable for it. So that works well across time zones and across regions. Uh, Separating that for a second, we also make sure that they are held at the same bar. So a principal engineer in the U.S. is is being assessed at the same level as a principal engineer in India or China,
Hmm.
wherever,
Hmm.
right? So we have a calibration or 9 box reviews that happen every year or every quarter in some companies, and we make sure that those people are flown in sometimes for those reviews so they can also attend the calibration together. So those are the kinds of things we do. And then culturally, I mean, things are very different in different countries, right? For example, in the US, initiative and often speaking up are rewarded more than anything else, right? In Japan, leadership is sort of earned through consensus and steady judgment. In India, ambition is highly regarded and people thrive when mentorship is hands on. So, my point is, we have to keep these cultural nuances in mind when you're assessing people too. But the basic common denominator is still about autonomy and scope.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting take. I mean, I've heard some other folks take the exact opposite approach, which, I have no idea which one works better, but what you sound makes a lot of sense. What you said makes a lot of sense. I've heard other people
Yeah, I
say,
mean, you
you
can,
need to
yeah,
micromanage other, like I have a team in Eastern Europe or in India or wherever. I need to send them the exact product spec, and this is exactly what they need to do, and this is the exact timeline. And yeah, it sounds like you have a different approach there.
yes, I mean, the world has changed. I mean, there are no longer all these offshore development centers. They're not order takers anymore, right? They want to be responsible for a product and engineering piece because they also go to good computer science schools and other places. So they're not, so I treat them the same way.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a
Yeah.
fantastic take. And giving people agency, as you said, makes them feel, you know, if they have ownership, it's their stuff. So if it's a problem, it's their responsibility too. I
Yeah.
love that take. I love that take.
Yeah.
How do you marry that with what you're doing, which is really, you need to work in very safety critical systems with telematics, right? People driving. I would assume that things that you guys build could affect have real effects on safety. Do you do anything special there to make sure that you can, not just have the same bar across these different regions, but also have the same care that you have towards safety and privacy and these sorts of things?
Yeah, so safety and privacy, I mean, look, at the end of the day, our product is such that, you know, it's 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 opt-in, right? Nobody is forced into sort of signing up to the platform. You can even, when you install the app, you can uninstall at any point in time. The data is not shared to any third-party companies, and and that's how it is across the board, whether you're in India or Budapest, and our India engineers are aware of that fact. Our Budapest engineers are aware of that fact. So we don't compromise on safety. And even if it makes sense to sort of spend another 3 months to make it totally bulletproof and safe and secure, we do everything that's needed to do that. So we don't worry about that.
That's good. That's good. That's nice to
Yeah.
know.
I mean, privacy and security are sort of paramount,
Right.
right? And and to me, in today's world, you know, drivers are actively choosing to participate in the program and not, we're not forcing them to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how do you, you don't have to reveal any secret sauce. I'm assuming you're using not just traditional analytical techniques, but also you have some sort of AI, more statistical approaches there. Um, how does that map with things like privacy and things like that? So are there cases where, AI is statistical by nature? Um, how do you make sure that you get the right results or the right output?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, our AI is dealing with lots and lots of data. We have petabytes of data, right? We have sort of data coming from all kinds of sensors. We have data coming from gyroscopes, from accelerometers, from GPS, and uh, and to process this data is hard. That's one problem. And secondly, it's not just about scale, it's about signal versus
Mhm.
noise, right? And when you have this much data, it's it's hard to sort of filter out irrelevant patterns and surface the insights that we or the nuggets that we actually need, right? So we use a lot of AI for that. We use machine learning, deep learning. We use all the kinds of techniques. Actually, we have been using AI for the last, I don't know, 13 years, ever since the company started or founded, right? So, distinguishing sort of between a pothole and a crash is hard, right? Distinguishing between a sharp corner and the reckless driving is hard, right? But we have to sort of, and that's where strong insights come into the picture. We have advanced models, we have constant validation that we do against the data, and we that's our job. We fuse different sensors, apply AI carefully, and then we ensure sort of accuracy is maintained at scale. So, I mean, to answer your specific question, we do all that stuff and it has to be secure. So, we basically have data scientists here in the US, a couple of data scientists in Budapest, and a couple of data scientists in India, and they understand security very well. They come here every 6 months, get trained by our, SRE team, site reliability and security team, and they follow all the practices.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You set up a good system. That's a fantastic system.
Yeah, yeah, it's worked very well. I mean, I joined here a year and a half ago. A lot of this was already in play, but yes, they have a pretty good system here.
Nice, nice. Changing gears a bit, right? So you guys obviously, as you mentioned, use AI in your systems internally to deliver your product. Now there's a lot of AI in the news for, AI coding assistants, AI code review bots, all that sort of thing. Have you guys started adopting these tools?
Yeah, so we have. So I would say about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, our CTO Hari Balakrishnan had a meeting with a bunch of us and said, "Hey, look, how are you guys thinking of AI?" and as you can imagine, a lot of people had different opinions about it. Some people are saying it's hype, some people are saying it's not hype, and there's all kinds of LinkedIn articles, and everybody is having a different experience with it. So we decided that we will have a tiger team, and we will treat it like again like a first class citizen. So basically there's a team of people, three people, that produce status reports every 2 weeks on a how the tools are being adopted in our company, how they're being used, who is using them, how is it helping. And my general experience is that it's good, it's doing its job, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen sort of the uh, super measurable velocity increase as much as what people are saying out in the market, right? So LLMs can help us experiment and prototype features faster. That's number one. It can help developers catch mistakes in our pull requests, right? It can help us find answers faster, and we're constantly evaluating. But I've not seen the impact that people are saying out there. So for us, the jury's still out. But that doesn't mean I have totally written off AI LLMs yet. We are still using it. We have about 3 or 4 tools that we're using, all the way from PR review tools to tools like Copilot, Cursor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So you
yeah.
mean compared to some people saying it makes me 2 times as productive, or like throw 40% more code or something like that, compared to those numbers, you haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
I haven't seen those numbers. I mean, my key takeaway, okay, this is my personal opinion,
Yeah.
which is that you can outsource your engineering and coding with AI tools. You can outsource that, but not your thinking, right? And AI tools can take you north, but with the same speed, I think it can take you south. So, you know, I feel like that's where, we're still trying, and we're not 100% there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it sounds like in your industry, right? We talked about security and privacy and some of these other things, and just how difficult it is to distinguish between different types of events with a lot of different types of data. It seems like your industry and your product specifically is maybe just harder, right, than someone trying to build some web app or I don't know, building trying to build a social media app or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we had a hackathon here. There were about 18 projects, and each one of them had to use AI as a theme, right? And a lot of people were able to build quick apps through vibe coding, and within 2 to 4 hours, they had like a fully working app, right, with a data set and everything else. So, for that purpose, it's great. It's not bad at all, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've heard other guests on the podcast or other folks I've talked to mention that sometimes that's all they use it for, right? To try to figure out on the product side even, should we build this feature
Yeah.
versus that feature instead of the Figma world of you make a design and you go ask users about it and do user studies. You could do user studies with a real working feature instead. So I think there are different approaches as well.
Yeah, and having said that, I mean, the tools are progressing at a very fast pace. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 6 months or a year where we get to exhaust more pieces of the tool and get more done, right? So, but where we are, it's doing exactly what I thought it would do for us.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Um, what's uh, what's changed recently for you guys? There's a lot of hubbub in the market about AI, obviously, but besides AI, there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of changes in the industry as well. Has any of that reflected in the way that have you changed your processes to reflect um, these wider changes?
Wider changes in the specifically in the AI space.
Yeah, people are saying, "Hey, this is completely changing, how we hire, for example, right? Like, oh, we need to hire for a certain type of person who's better at AI, or I'm not looking at as many managers or something. Like, this seems like there's very wide-reaching effects here."
Yeah, so I think from a hiring perspective, uh, we are very fortunate being in the heart of MIT that we are able to get a lot of kids right out of school. So from that perspective, we are good. In the data science world, we are looking for senior and principal data scientists who have had some foundation model experience or some large LLM experience. So we are looking for that. But beyond that, nothing much has really changed. I think the span of control for the managers that we have are matching what I think it should be. We have managers, senior managers, directors with the exact span of control that I want them to have. So I think we're okay from that perspective. So AI is not changing that for us.
Hmm. Good to hear. Good
Yeah.
to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we hear sometimes people are going crazy, right? Saying, "Oh, I'm going to fire a bunch of folks, or I'm going to hire people with different skill sets, or something." Sounds like you guys are staying
Yeah.
the
No,
course.
that's not happening. Yeah, we're staying the course. I did meet with the recruiting team today, and we were talking about how AI can help with recruiting because, each job opening has about thousands and thousands of resumes coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So we're using some AI there to filter out uh, and shortlist the exact candidates we want.
Yeah, yeah. I actually read an article in, I think at the Atlantic or something a bit ago that talked about this issue in recruiting in particular, where applicants also want to do the best. They want to make their resumes more customized and everything. So they're using ChatGPT or LLMs to generate the resumes. On the other side, recruiters are using it to parse the resumes, and
Yeah.
seems like it's a tricky problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky, tough problem. Yeah, so we are looking at the output every day, and yes, I would say 50% makes sense, and the 50% don't make sense.
Interesting,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Oh man. So what are your what are some current challenges for you? Sounds like you guys have a lot figured out, right? But what's tough?
I mean, from a product perspective, obviously, how do we continue growing? I think growth is always an exciting and challenging opportunity for us. And how can we go global, for example? How can we uh, how can we attack different diverse markets? I think we're already talking to a lot of insurance companies, and obviously I cannot get into too many details, but we're talking to a lot of insurance companies and seeing how we can uh, penetrate more into the customer base they have. So that's always interesting and challenging. Going global is challenging. Uh, how do we deploy faster to a customer? So our deployments take a little bit longer than what I would like. So how can we improve the efficiency to market? Um, so that's on the product side. On the engineering side, recruiting is always a challenge. Obviously, we cannot compete with the FANGs of the world, and so that makes it's all the more important for us to have a value prop that's appealing to a candidate and come up with nice, interesting, impactful projects that they can be proud of. Also, we're not a consumer-based app where you can point to something on a website or an app and tell your mom or dad and say, "Hey, this is what I worked on,"
Yeah.
right? So, so those are. I mean, but that's the nature of the beast, and I don't see them as sort of stopping us from moving forward. Um, what else I would say? I think continuing to deal with the scale of data that we record. And this is data from sensors, this is data from GPSs, this is data from video streaming that happens while a car is driving for like hours and hours. So all that is uh, all that is challenging but yet interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything in there that keeps you up at night or something that makes you think like, oh man, like this is an urgent thing we need to solve?
Nothing really. I mean, I sleep well at night,
That's great.
so yeah. But I have been at companies where, uh, we had really uh, stringent sort of, operational excellence kind of, you know, rules. So we don't have that here. But that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to it. We are a little bit more diligent because everything involves money, everything involves, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to save people's lives. So for us, we rather spend the time beforehand than reactively trying to address it. So that's why, I feel a little better addressing problems beforehand.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So if you had to project forward, what do you think? What I think are will the engineering leadership industry or engineering management look like in the future? You've had tons of experience in the past at large companies and now an AI company as well. Is anything going to change, or do you think at the end of the day it's fundamentally about people and delivering good product?
Hmm. Um, I think people manage, you know, when you're dealing with code, it's one thing, but when you're dealing with people, it's very different. People have emotions, people have sentiments, people, uh, are unpredictable. So those are some of the situations where AI cannot really sort of tell you, hey, you should do this, right? And so people management will still be important. The key question will be whether the span of control is going to change. Meaning, is a director now, can a director now have, instead of three senior managers, can they have five senior managers, right? Because things have gotten easier underneath, right? I don't know. I don't see a lot changing in the future when it comes to sort of people management. Uh, but that's just my opinion, and I think you will still need good, strong people leaders that can provide direction, protection, and order to the people that follow them. And that's not easily substituted by AI.
Yeah, yeah. And what about the engineers themselves? Do you think that there's, I've mentioned that some companies have said we're going to fire half of our engineers or something, or we're going to hire less or something. Do you think any of that's changing or going to change?
Um, well, I wish I had the economies of scale to tell you, yes, I can fire half my engineering team and, and substitute by AI. Um, Having said that, I can see some, you know, rote tasks, you know, like for example, writing unit tests. That will be a lot easier using AI, right? Um, Writing integration tests maybe a lot easier using AI. Uh, Doing some front end, like building a React app quickly from scratch, maybe faster using AI. Data engineering tasks that can read a database and bunch of tables in the database, and then you writing queries on top of it can be done by AI. So there are some tasks I get that can be done by AI, and I think we'll get there. So there will be some efficiencies achieved through that, meaning you won't need maybe 10 data engineers, you may need six. Uh, but for me, I still have to see it happen. I mean, in 5 years it could happen, or 3 years it could happen, but I've not seen it happen.
Yeah, yeah, and it plays back to what you
Yeah,
said earlier. You haven't seen people
yeah,
saying it makes you 2 times as productive or something. Not yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And even the other leaders and my peers that I speak with who are working at big tech companies uh, have said similar things. So it's not it's not it's not uncommon.
Yeah, fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, thank you, Raju, for all your insights from the telling your life story to talking about the ins and outs of managing distributed teams to your take on AI. I really appreciated our conversation.
Thank you, William. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of High Output. If today's conversation was useful, please take a moment to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Engineering leadership is evolving rapidly, and we're committed to bringing you insights from the front lines every week. Visit getmaestro.ai/high output for show notes, transcripts, and past episodes. Until next time, I'm William Chang, and this has been High Output, where we explore how today's engineering leaders are building tomorrow's high-performing teams.